Start without any further ado, then I guess it's already 10:15. So before we do so, a quick formal introduction on my end, guys. My name is Mohammed Shoaib. I'm a cybersecurity trainer certified from EC Council. EC Council is the leading organization for trainings and certifications in the domain of cybersecurity. And it provides a lot of courses from the very basic or beginner level to advanced level or management level courses as well in cybersecurity. Okay. Now, before we do so, there's a common misconception among students between the definitions of hacking and ethical hacking. So people usually assume it's one and the same thing. There's no difference between hacking and ethical hacking. And people also have a very bad idea that hacking is something which is malicious, which is actually true. But what we are learning in our course is ethical hacking, which is quite different. So let's explain the main differences between that. So let me define both the definition, both the terms hacking and ethical hacking as well. When you talk about hacking, guys, it is the procedure of trying to gain access to information systems. Now, what I mean by that phrase, trying to gain access to information systems, is that, for example, if I were a hacker and if I have hacked your phone, it basically means I have a remote connection to your phone. I can remotely steal data from your phone. I can remotely delete the data from your phone or even modify it, okay, change the data, okay, and all of this is done without your permission. So you have no clue. You don't have the knowledge that I'm doing all this on your device. So basically, again, when we perform this on information systems, it could either mean a mobile phone or as big as a web application server or a database, okay, or the whole cloud network, okay. Now, when you talk about, again, as I've mentioned, this hacking, it is a malicious activity. It is not done for the betterment of any organization. It is usually performed for the hacker's benefit, okay, and even sometimes just out of fun. So again, to define it as a whole again, hacking is the procedure of trying to gain access to information systems without the permission or the consent of the person or the organization owning those systems. And this is performed by hackers for their own benefit. They can steal the data, destroy the data, or sell that data to other people on the internet. And sometimes hackers can even just cause or do this for fun to just disrupt services. Okay. Is that clear, guys? Any questions with the definition of hacking? And I hope the voice is audible, very clear. Any issues with the voice? I hope I'm
No,
audible
it's clear
properly.
only, sir.
Perfect. Right. Now, if hacking is such a malicious task, why do we have a course called Certified Ethical Hacking? And what is ethical hacking on the other hand? So when you talk about ethical hacking, guys, it is the procedure of trying to find vulnerabilities. This term called vulnerability is something that you'll keep on hearing throughout the course, okay? Because main job of ethical hackers is to find vulnerabilities. Now, to define a vulnerability, it is a loophole or it is a flaw or a weakness in the security of the information system. So in your organization, if any of the devices has weak security or has loopholes in its security, hackers try to take advantage of those loopholes. So your job in ethical hacking is to find these loopholes, find these vulnerabilities in the systems with the permission, with the consent of the organization. So you work hand in hand with the organization. You abide by all their rules and regulations and policies. You do not cross any boundaries. You do not break any rules. Okay. And you try to find the vulnerabilities in their organization. And once the vulnerabilities have been found, your job or your responsibility is to report it back. And once the vulnerabilities are reported to the company, they are going to apply the security patches for it or the updates for it, security updates for it. And once the security update is applied, that vulnerability is removed and you're making the systems secure. Okay. So thereby with ethical hacking, you're trying to find the vulnerabilities and you're trying to remediate them so that your organization is pretty much safe from cyber threats or from hackers. Okay. So with ethical hacking, you're protecting the organizations from actual hackers. And that's the main difference between hacking and ethical hacking. Now, our course called Certified Ethical Hacking is again a course which is built specifically to make you understand how hacking is done and how do you prevent hacking from occurring on your organizations by performing ethical hacking first. Okay. So depending on these two definitions of hacking and ethical hacking, we're going to learn what are the different categories of hackers as well. So we can learn that there's three types of categories. There's someone known as a black hat hacker, gray hat hacker, and a white hat hacker. Black hat hackers are also commonly called as cyber criminals. These are the people who perform hacking for their own benefit without asking for consent. On the other end of the spectrum, you have white hat hackers. These are the good guys, you could say, the ethical hackers who perform ethical hacking for working and securing the organization's security. Okay. And in between, there's a third category called gray hat hackers. Now, these people are quite mysterious. They have both the qualities of a black hat hacker as well as a white hat hacker. So, like a black hat hacker, they don't ask for permission first, but once they find the vulnerability, they report it back to the company like a white hat hacker. But there's a minor catch here. The catch or the condition is they don't do this for free, definitely. They do it in return for something called a bounty. A bounty is a reward, kind of a reward for them for finding the vulnerability and reporting it to the company. So they expect a reward in return. It could be a financial reward, a reputational reward, anything which benefits them for finding the vulnerability and reporting it to the company. So they find bugs for the companies in return for bounties or rewards. Okay. Now, all these three types of hackers, whether you talk about black hat hackers, gray hat hackers, or white hat hackers, they perform hacking or ethical hacking in a certain procedure. And that procedure is called as hacking cycle or cyber kill chain. Now, the first thing that is asked you in an interview when you work for, when you start applying for cybersecurity job roles, is to define your hacking cycle. What is the procedure that you follow to perform proper ethical hacking? Okay. Now, PC Council has defined a very perfectly blended hacking cycle, which works for any organization in a real-time scenario. And this hacking cycle consists of 5 important steps. So let me list the steps out first. And then we're going to briefly discuss about each of these steps so you have a better idea about the contents of the course and the concepts that we'll be learning throughout. Okay. So the first concept in hacking cycle is called as information gathering. Some companies also refer to it as reconnaissance or footprinting. Second concept is called as scanning. It can also be referred to as enumeration. Third step is gaining access. Fourth step is maintaining access. And the last step is called reporting or clearing traces. Now, if you closely observe here, only in the last step, I've mentioned the word called or. The reason being, no matter what kind of a hacker you are, whether you be a black hat hacker, gray hat hacker, or a white hat hacker, the first 4 steps are exactly similar. There's no difference in the first 4 steps. What varies is only the last step. If you're a white hat hacker or a gray hat hacker, you would report the vulnerabilities back to the organization and tell them where the flaws are, where the weaknesses are, and what needs to be updated. Secondly, if you're a black hat hacker, you don't report anything, but you remove the evidences. So you want to stay anonymous. You don't want to get caught. So what you do is you remove all the evidences or clear the traces, okay, deleting the logs, okay, and trying to stay anonymous. And that in simple terms is called as clearing traces. Okay, so let's briefly discuss about each of these steps now. So you have a better idea about the whole course. Any questions or doubts up to this part, guys? Okay, Ankita, Ashraf, Krish, Nitish, Malikarjun Rao. Okay, Krish, I guess you said no. Any questions, guys? In the meanwhile, again, please do interact, guys. If you have any questions, do not hesitate to let me know. Let's keep this a two-way session. I don't want to be the only person.
No doubt, sir.
Perfect. So if you still, if you still get stuck somewhere, or if you don't understand a certain point, please do let me know. I'll repeat that again. Okay. And if you face any network issues, or if you're facing any audio or video issues in the meeting as well, please just drop a chat. Drop a text in the chat box, and I'll try to rectify that or repeat those words if you miss out something. Okay. Now, coming back to our hacking cycle, the first step is called as information gathering. Let's talk about that first. So when you talk about information gathering, from the name itself, you can figure out this is a step which involves the hacker or the ethical hacker to gather as much data as possible about the target organization. Okay. Now, basically, what I mean by that is whenever, if we take this with the scenario of an example, let's say if I were a bank robber and if I wanted to rob a certain bank, the first thing that I need to do is I need to observe the bank properly from outside, from externally. So I need to know when the bank opens up, when does the bank close, where are the CCTV cameras installed outside, how many security guards are there outside, when does the money van come in, or how many money transfers happen. I get money from other banks or other branches coming to this bank happen, or on what weekdays are the banks closed, okay? And when do the employees go for a lunch break? I just need to observe on a rough average how many customers come in or go out. So I just need to observe all these pieces of information externally from outside the bank. Okay. And when I'm performing all of this, when I'm trying to observe all of this, the bank has no clue that someone is trying to gather information about it. Again, that in simple terms is basically information gathering. trying to gather information about your target organization externally from other third-party resources. Excuse me. Okay. Now, the main question you would have is, in our scenario of hacking or ethical hacking, what information do we need to gather about the organization? And this is the information as follows. Okay. So when you work for an organization, for hacking or ethical hacking, these are the pieces of information that we need to obtain. Firstly, you need the IP addresses or the range of IP addresses for the organization. Now you might have a question, what an IP address is? IP address is the identity given to each device on the internet. Okay, so it is a numerical address or sometimes alphabetical and numerical address, okay, a hexadecimal address given as an identity for each system. Don't worry if you have no clue about IP addresses. We will talk about that in detail in the course. Then you need the who's records, which tells you who's hosting their website for them. When was their website first active or first online? When was their website last updated? When will their website expire? All this information is given in the who's records. Then you need the DNS records. Every organization has something called as a DNS server, which contains information about the domain and the subdomains of the organization, and the IP address is linked with those. So no matter what servers they have, no matter what websites or subdomains they have, each website might be hosted on a server with a public IP. So that linking between that domain name and IP is found in DNS records. So we need to find that linking as well. And then we need the employee details, such as the contact numbers for the employees, their email addresses, okay, and if possible, their usernames and passwords, which got leaked on the internet, and the operating system information. What OS are they using? Are they using Linux servers in the organization, or are they using Microsoft servers in the organization? So trying to gather all this information from various sources on the internet. Now, if this seems a bit too tough to understand, let me show you a real-time example. So if I want to find the DNS records for any certain organization, all I have to do is I have to go to my browser. And in the browser, I can search for a website called DNS Dumpster. Now, this is a very popular website in the hacking cycle, and again, among hackers and ethical hackers as well. And you can click on the first link here. And now you can notice there's an input field here where it is asking you to enter the domain name. So whatever organization you want to search the information for, you can just enter that domain name here. So for example, if my target domain is netflix.com, I can just search over here for netflix.com. And when I click on search, you would notice this starts providing me the DNS server information for the Netflix organization. So first it tells me the geolocation of the servers, where are Netflix servers located mostly. Then it tells me how many DNS servers does Netflix have. So Netflix has one primary DNS server with this exact public IP and 3 secondary DNS servers. So these are the names of the servers and these are the IP addresses for the servers. Again, if this is not visible, let me just zoom in a bit. I hope it's visible now. So again, guys, this IP address information is quite crucial for a hacker or an ethical hacker, because on these IPs itself, he's going to perform the upcoming attacks or the upcoming phases of hacking cycle. So again, these are the servers on which the rest of the information is actually present on. So on these 4 DNS servers, you have all the types of records. First records are the MX records. MX in the sense, what are the mail servers for Netflix? So this is where email for the organization goes or the domain goes. So Netflix has 5 mail servers, all of them from Google itself, Gmail. And these are the IP addresses of those servers. So if you want to find information regarding the emails, if you want to attack their email servers, these are the IP addresses to attack on. Secondly, there's something called as host records. This gives you information on the main domain and the subdomains of the organization. So these are all the main servers of the Netflix organization and the exact IP addresses linked with Netflix. Okay, so each of these servers hosts that certain website for Netflix. If you keep scrolling down, you can notice these are all the servers that are linked. And this information is being freely provided to you on the internet from this website. If you keep scrolling down, here is the network topology map. This map tells you how Netflix servers are connected to one another and what are their exact IP addresses. So it gives you a complete network topology of the organization of Netflix. Now you might have a question, isn't this quite harmful? But again, the point is, guys, the organization itself needs to provide this information online. Although it might not provide it in one single location, it spreads it throughout multiple DNS servers on the internet. Okay, but DNS dumpster, this website, does the job of collecting all that information and putting it in one single place. So it makes it easier for hackers or ethical hackers to gather information rather than searching for it all around the web. Okay, so again, this information is already available on the web. It is provided by Netflix itself, but it is scattered all around the internet. DNS Dumpster is a very resourceful website for us, which captures all that information, filters it out, and puts it in one single place to access it. Okay, and this can work for any website on the internet. We have searched for Netflix. You can give any domain of your choice. So let's say if we search for Wipro, an Indian website called wipro.com, it would provide information for the DNS servers of Wipro as well. And if you scroll down, you can see where the servers are located, what are the DNS servers for Wipro, and what are the mail servers for Wipro. Wipro only has one mail server from outlook.com. Okay, and this is the exact IP address for that. And these are all the domains and subdomains of Wipro and their exact IPs. Okay, this is the network topology map for Wipro.com. Slightly smaller compared to Netflix topology map. Okay, is that clear, guys? Any questions or doubts regarding this? Anyone? Ashraf, Krish, Nitish. Right. Again, as I've mentioned, there are similar other websites as well on the internet from where you can retrieve these pieces of information. What we have found right now is for the DNS server records. Okay. Similarly, for other pieces of information, there are other tons and tons of websites which we'll be working with in the upcoming classes. Now, after all this information has been gathered, then you go into the next phase, which is scanning. Now, this is quite an important or crucial phase to get some extra information by making active connections. Now, if we take the example of the bank robbery again, not all information can be gathered from outside the bank. So the bank robber needs to enter the bank inside and check the security infrastructure internally as well. How many security cameras are installed inside? How many security guards are inside the bank? Where is the vault located inside the bank? Which corner is it located in? Okay. And are there any other security measures? Okay. Are there any other, for example, any alarms or so inside the bank or some triggers over there? Okay. So again, unless the bank robber enters the bank inside, he would have no clue about it. But when he enters in the bank, his information would also be captured. So he would come in the security cameras, and they could know. So when the hacking is done or when the robbery is done, after that, when they check the bank security cameras, they might get information about the robbery. Okay. But this is quite a crucial step. Similarly, in hacking or ethical hacking as well, not all information can be gathered from outside the organization. You need to attack the organization servers and retrieve information from those servers. But when you're attacking those servers, your IP address or your identity might be given out as well. Okay. And those connections are called as active connections. In information gathering, we gather information passively. In scanning, we gather some extra information actively. Now, your main question would be, what information is that we gather in this step separately? And that can be listed out over here. So they can be categorized in three parts. So scanning is of three kinds. There's something called as network scanning, port scanning, and vulnerability scanning. In network scanning, you try to figure out internally in the organization what all devices exist. So how many firewalls do they have? How many routers are they using? How many servers do they have internally? Okay, which are not again on the internet. Okay, but in their local organization. How many IDS or IPS systems do they have? Intrusion detection systems or intrusion prevention systems? And what vendor devices are they using? Okay, all that information needs to be gathered from network scan. Once you know what devices are active, then you perform port scanning, trying to figure out on those devices what ports are open and what services are running on those ports. So trying to figure out what types of services are they using. Are they using any HTTP servers, HTTPS servers, DNS servers, DHCP servers, SNMP servers, trying to understand what all different categories of services are there. Okay. And then once you get all the information on that, finally you need to perform vulnerability scan, trying to figure out on whatever ports are open and whatever services they are running, are there any weaknesses on it? Are there any loopholes to attack on? Okay. And during this phase, we're using two very important tools. One of them is called as Nmap, which is quite popular. and it is still being used in today's organizations, even though it's quite an old tool. This was released in the year 1997, if you notice. But even today, this is quite a crucial tool in the latest applications or scanners. And along with this, we also, again, this is used for port scanning and network scan. And after this, we'll be using a tool called Nessus, Nessus. This is built by an organization called Tenable. So you can search for Tenable Nessus as well. And you can click on this link from Tenable. And this is the official website from where you can download this tool. Again, this tool is quite expensive actually. So if you click on buy, you can notice it's around $6,000, and that too only for 1 year subscription. Now, the reason why it is so costly is because this tool is capable of automatically scanning each and every endpoint in your organization or each and every device in your organization and tell you automatically which device contains what vulnerabilities. So it can generate a report by telling you in your organization which system contains what weakness and how to attack it. Okay. But again, luckily for us, you don't have to purchase this tool, guys. There's a trial version as well. And with the trial version, you can understand how to install this tool in an organization and how to run it as well. So we will be working on this as well in our course. Now, the reason I'm showing you all this, guys, is just for you to understand that the course is built in a very practical way with the tools that I'll be teaching you, which are used in real-time organizations. So there's no theoretical nonsense. Okay, whatever tools we'll be working on, whatever practicals we perform are the same exact things that you perform in an organization. The same exact procedures are followed in organizations as well with the same exact tools. Okay. Now, once you have gathered all the information from the first two steps, information gathering and scanning, next important step is gaining access. Now, this is one of the most important topics, or you could also call it as the core of our subject, because this involves the hacker or the ethical hacker to attack on the vulnerabilities. So we learn how do we perform attacks on each and every endpoint using this phase, gaining access. So let me list out the steps first. These are the steps that we'll be working on in gaining access. Again, it covers a huge variety of topics because, again, as I've mentioned, we work on understanding how to attack each and every endpoint. So the first thing that we learn is system hacking. How do hackers or ethical hackers try to crack or bypass operating system passwords? So if there's a computer which is locked, and if you don't know the password, how do you still access the data internally? So how do you bypass the password or try to crack the password for that operating system? Then comes malware attacks. One of the most important cyber threats or the most common cyber threat attacks happen through malwares. So we'll learn what malwares are. They basically stand for malicious softwares. Okay. And there's tons and tons of categories in malwares. There's viruses, worms, Trojan, spyware, rootkit, whatnot. We'll practically learn how to create each of these malwares, how to defend our system from these malwares, and how to detect them if they are already installed on our systems. Then comes malware's advanced. It's a bonus topic, which includes how do you learn malware development using Python programming. Again, this is not included in the course curriculum from EC Council days. I've added this as a bonus topic for people who are already in software development to understand how to create malwares using your own programming code. Okay. Then there's network penetration testing, where we learn all the common network attacks. Okay, sniffing attack, man-in-the-middle attack, denial of service attacks, or hacking Wi-Fi routers, cracking the password for Wi-Fi routers. All this falls under network pen testing. Okay, so sniffing or man-in-the-middle is where you can try to capture data from other users in the network. So whatever usernames or passwords that they are typing, you can capture that data and understand or read their data packets. Okay, DOS attacks as well. Hackers can shut down remote servers, try to send huge amounts of traffic to the servers and cause the servers to crash. Okay, so we learn how these attacks are performed in our network pen testing class. Then comes social engineering, where we learn how do hackers perform phishing attacks. Now, this is also one of the most common attacks on the internet, where hackers try to make or try to create fake websites, send these fake website links to you, and try to retrieve your information. So they could send you a fake Facebook website or any social media website or a bank login page, and they might ask you to enter your details in that. And if you're not careful enough, and if you don't again verify if the page is genuine or not, and if you enter any credentials, they might be going to the hacker. So we learn how do hackers perform these attacks, how do they clone websites, how do you distinguish between a fake website and a genuine website, okay, and how do you prevent these attacks from happening in your close circles or even in organizations, okay. Then comes web application penetration testing, where we learn what are the common attacks on websites. Okay. So there's a few important web application vulnerabilities such as SQL injection, cross-site scripting, broken authentication, and file upload vulnerability. Now, these are a few vulnerabilities or weaknesses on websites through which hackers can attack databases, inject malicious scripts on the website, okay, or upload malicious files to the servers and get remote connections. So we learn all these attacks on websites as well in this course. Again, CEH course does not cover in-depth of web application because this is altogether a different course, guys. But we'll cover the basics of web application vulnerabilities and a very important tool called burp suite during this module. So you can search for burp suite as well. This is one of the most important tools in application security testing for websites. So we learn how to run this tool as well. Okay. After this is done, last few concepts are vulnerability assessment and hacking mobile phones. So in vulnerability assessment, we'll be working with a tool called Metasploit framework. Not sure if you've heard about this, guys, but this is one of the most important tools in cybersecurity. This is a tool which is capable of testing vulnerabilities on websites or again, applications or devices as well. So once you get a report from a tool like Nessus, once the Nessus tool tells you what weaknesses exist on a system, you have to verify that report. You have to attack on that vulnerability and test if it is actually working or not. And that is done with the Metasploit framework. It allows you to test the security of each website or each application or each tool or software as well by attacking with exploits and checking the security of it. So this is a VAPT tool, vulnerability assessment and penetration testing. It allows you to assess a vulnerability by attacking on it or by penetration testing on it. Okay. And after this is done, then we learn about hacking mobile phones, where we learn how to attack remote Android phones with Trojans. So if you have an Android phone, I'll show you how hackers can get remote connection to that Android phone by sending you a malware. Okay. And what kind of data can be accessed from your phone remotely? We'll learn that in hacking mobile phones. So again, if you notice over here, we're covering each and every endpoint here, guys. We talk about system security, we talk about network security, we talk about wireless security, we talk about web application and cloud security, and we also talk about mobile security. So all the devices that could exist in an organization, we're talking about how to check the security for each of them. Okay. Is that clear? Any questions or doubts up to this point, guys? Nitish, Krish, Ashraf?
No, sir.
Perfect. Now, after this is done, there are two small modules left out, which are called as maintaining access and reporting or clearing traces. Now, these are the most simplest of topics, guys, in the whole course, frankly speaking. And they are very less time taking as well. So maintaining access is where hackers learn or hackers try to perform persistent connections. What I mean by that is if you have attacked the system or if you have gained remote access to a system, that system's connection should not be lost if the user restarts it. So in maintaining access, we learn how do we maintain persistent connections or maintain remote connections even after a system restart. And finally, after that, we learn reporting or clearing traces, where I show you how do you generate a report and submit to the organization as an ethical hack, or also how do you remove the evidences like a black hat hacker. So the whole course is going to run in two tracks. We'll learn both offensive security and we'll also learn both defensive security. So how do you attack a system and how do you defend a system from attacks? Okay. And since not everyone might be from a technical background, guys, we also have a few prerequisites to learn. So this course comes installed with all the prerequisites as well. Okay, so you'll be covering basic prerequisite concepts such as networking basics, Linux and Windows commands, and virtualization. So in networking basics, we learn what IP addresses are, what are IPv4 addresses, what are the categories of IP addresses, what are DNS servers, what are DHCP servers, a few important protocols in cybersecurity in networking. What is TCP protocol? What is UDP protocol? We'll learn all these networking basics or networking fundamentals. After that, we learn virtualization, where I'll show you how to install a tool called VMware. And in that VMware tool, how do you install an operating system called Kali Linux? So this is a very important operating system for cybersecurity because this comes pre-installed with all the hacking tools. So these tools are not available for you in the Windows operating system. So you need to separately install the Kali Linux, okay? Because again, as I've mentioned, all the required tools are pre-installed. So we learn how to install the Kali Linux operating system on our devices using a software called VMware. After that is done, we'll also learn about Linux and Windows commands because we need to know how to operate the Kali Linux OS. So after all those concepts are done, Then we dive into the advanced concepts, the hacking or the ethical hacking concepts. So the whole course is divided in a 20-40 ratio, guys. Every day we'll have a class for 1 hour, where the first 15 minutes to 20 minutes we discuss the theoretical aspect of the course, and the remaining 35 to 40 minutes we discuss the practical aspect of it. Okay. So again, the whole course is going to take up to 35 to 40 days to complete, where you'll have classes from Monday to Friday every day for 1 hour. And tomorrow itself, we are starting batch guides where I'll take the first class on networking concepts. We'll talk about IP addresses in tomorrow's class. And the class is going to be at 7 p.m. guys. So the timing for the batch is at 7 p.m. IST, Indian Standard Time. And yeah, the course is priced at 8,000 rupees, where you'll get all the recordings for the classes, inclusive of the live sessions and the notes and materials. So notes is already prepared for you. You'll be getting the notes for each class. You'll be getting the material from EC Council, official EC Council material as well, even without paying any certification price. Okay. And you'll also be getting the recordings for each class, just in case if you miss out any session. No worries, we'll be sharing the recordings for each session that is taken. Okay. And as mentioned, guys, the course is priced at 8,000 rupees, quite less compared to the other institutes around. So any other questions or doubts, guys, up to this point?
Will we get the placement assistance or not? How we get the job after doing CEH or whatever you are saying?
With DURGASOFT, there is no placement assistance also, Ashraf. But again, the thing that I suggest to students after the course is done is to apply on a website called Null Jobs. So basically, in India, specifically for cybersecurity, there's a lot of good, as I've mentioned, good support and good community. So you can just search for jobs.null.co.in. And when you search for that, you can notice there's something called as Null Community. This is a website specifically for cybersecurity jobs in India. So these are all the domains in cybersecurity. And once the course is done, you can start applying for the Freshers tab or even the VAPT tab. Okay, so if you click on Freshers, you can notice these are all the job listings in India right now at the moment. So you can apply for jobs like security consultant, SOC analyst, junior analyst, malware analyst, ethical hacker. Okay, or there's internships as well. Okay, so when you click on any one of them, it tells you what the job role is, what you need to perform. Okay, and where you can apply for. How do you apply for this? Okay, so again, you can notice these are.
Will you be assisting in resume building?
Yeah, that I can do. I can help you in building a resume. That's not an issue at all. I'll be sharing you sample resume which I've built for my students earlier. I can share those resumes to you, and you can modify the resume and share your resume to me. And if there's any necessity of any modification or corrections required, I'll help you out with that. That's not an issue at all.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. Sure. Any other questions, guys? Krish, Nitish?
No, sir.
Okay. So yeah, that's that, guys. Nothing further for our session today. Thanks for attending the demo today. And please do join the class.
How can we enroll into this program?
Oh, if you notice in the chat box, Ashraf, there might be a message from DurgaSoft. As you can notice, there's the link over here, demo link, which has been
There is
mentioned.
only one link, attendee.gottraining.com.
Exactly. That's the link for the class tomorrow at 7 p.m. So you can attend those demos as well. And once you're interested, you can contact DurgaSoft on their number from their official website. You can contact DurgaSoft and make the payment to them. They'll be sharing their bank details or their Google Pay numbers to you, on which you can enroll, make the payment and enroll for the course. But before that, you can make a note of this demo link, which is for the class tomorrow at 7 p.m., where we'll talk about networking concepts. Okay. Is that clear, guys?
Yeah, clear.
Right. Please note down that demo link, guys. I hope everyone has taken a note of that. That can be used to join the session tomorrow at 7 p.m. So please let me know if you have noted it down so that I can end the session after that.
Can you please send the link again?
Oh, yeah, sure. I have just dropped it in the chat box again. Hope all of you have got it. Okay, guys. Perfect. So yeah, that's it. Nothing further for our session today, Nitish. I'm going to exit this class now. And I hope you have taken down the link as well. Have a good day, guys. I'll see you tomorrow at the same time at 7 p.m. Okay. Bye-bye. Take care.